What's up YouTube, it's your boy Nasha. Welcome back to the channel, and for today's Yu-Gi-Oh news video, more cards from Dimension Force, including a card that can actually stop hand traps. Yeah. Yeah, a card that can stop hand traps. There's a new archetype in this set. I don't even know how to describe it. So, I'm going to get straight into it, and hopefully you guys enjoyed the revealing of these new cards. If you guys do, and you guys want more Yu-Gi-Oh news videos in the future, which get posted obviously every Tuesday, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel, give this video a thumbs up, and be sure to follow me on Twitter and Instagram. The links will be in the description. For fan mail, y'all know what's up. The address will be in the description if you guys want to send fan mail. That being said, let's get straight into it with the with the hand trap negation known as cross exclusion. And the way they spell it is X-CLUSION. That's how it's spelled. And it's obviously a counter trap, and the effect reads: when your opponent activates a monster effect from the hand, negate that activation. Then, if your opponent has any cards in their hand, your opponent discards one card of their choice. So this is actually the best way to stop hand traps dead in their tracks. So obviously when it comes to hand trap negation, obviously we've got cards like Call By, we've got Mind Drain, which is still a really good card, and I'm telling you guys, Mind Drain could very may well be the new meta in 2022, as could this card. This card could also be the new meta. This might be a lot better than Call By, but the only downside is that you don't banish the cards, which is the only downside. But still, it's a pretty cool card. It's still a pretty cool card. I may end up running this card, so who knows? But moving on, we do have a new jar. Yep, the jars have been resurrected with Flip Jar, which is a 3-star Earth Rock flip monster, of course, with 800 attack and 900 defense, and the effect is a once per turn. The flip effect reads: change all other monsters on the field to face down defense, then return all face up spells and traps on the field to the hand. Then each player can set spells and traps from their hand up to the number of their cards returned to the hand by this effect. So this is pretty cool because it's basically Book of Moon. It's basically Book of Moon on steroids, with the addition of the giant Trunade effect of this card. So this card is actually pretty funny. It kind of looks like Cyberjar. It kind of looks like Cyberjar a little bit if you look at it close enough, but it's a pretty cool card. It's a pretty cool card. Do I think it's gonna be good in today's meta? It's hard to say. It's hard to say, especially given the fact that we're still pretty early into the new year, so it's kind of hard to say. But I will admit, the effect is pretty cool. I mean, Book of Moon giant Trunade effect. I mean, come on, you can't go wrong with that. You can't go wrong with that. Now we have a brand new archetype called Therions, and it's and as a side note here, it says the one where Kid and the Spriggans go to take part in alien mecha gladiator combat or something. I don't know. Therion actually means beast in Greek, which is pretty cool. First up, and this is actually the new archetype, which is pretty cool. Theron's Ein, I believe. Theron's Bull's Ein. Which is a which is a 7-star fire warrior with 2100 attack and 1600 defense, and its first and second effects are once per turn. First effect reads you can target one Therion's monster or warrior monster in your grave, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, equip that monster to this card. So it's basically like the Dragoonity archetype, but on steroids, which is pretty cool. Second effect reads, you can target one Therion's card you control, and a card your opponent controls, destroy them. It's removal, not too shabby. It's not too shabby. A Therion's monster equipped with this card gains 700 attack, and the second effect of this card's name. Ooh. So you basically get to pop cards on the field quite often. It's not too bad. Not too bad. I don't really think I think this is probably more of a 2 of if you were to build this deck, because of the fact that if you run 3, it could potentially be a brick, which is a possibility. This next one could actually very may well be another 2 of. In fact, I think they all have the same. Oh, never mind. Okay, so the Ein and this next one, a Leaper Fam, both have the same third and first effects, but the second effect is different. It's a 7-star Water Aqua with 1400 attack and 2500 defense. The first and third effects are the exact same, but the second effect is different. During your opponent's turn, as a quick effect, you can target one Therion's card in your spell and trap zone, and a card your opponent controls, return them to the hand. So it's like a double compulse, which is pretty cool. Now, I believe, let's see. Okay, so next up we have Duke Jewel, I believe is how it's pronounced. I'm literally butchering these names. I do apologize, but it's an 8-star like psychic with 2100 attack and 2800 defense, and the first effect is a once per turn, which reads, you can target one Therion's monster or a psychic monster in your grave, special summon this card from your hand, and if you do, equip that monster to this card. Second effect reads, while you control an equipped card, Therion's monster you control, monsters you control cannot be assured by your opponent's card effects. A Therion's monster equipped with this card's name gains 700 attack, and the second effect of this card's name. I think the other one is the same thing. Yeah, basically they're all the same with the first and third effects, but the second effect is always different. So next up we have Lily Borea, which is a 8-star wind plant. So it's multiple types, but multiple attributes, but the same archetype, which is pretty cool. 8-star wind plant, 2400 attack, 2500 defense. The second, I have already read off the first and third effects. This one is actually a Therion's monster or a plant, which is pretty cool. The second effect reads, you can send a card from your hand or field to the grave, add a Therion spell or trap from your deck to hand. So this is basically Spell and Trap Rhoda. It's basically Spell and Trap Rhoda, which is pretty cool. Not too shabby. Next up we have King Regulus, which is a 8-star Earth Machine with 2800 attack and 1600 defense, and I already read the first and third effects, don't have to say them. The second effect reads, when your opponent activates a card or effect as a quick effect, you can send one Therion's monster card from your hand or field to the grave and negate that effect. So it's basically Solemn Judgment with leg. So it's not Solemn Judgment. It's basically imperm. It's basically imperm with legs, which is absolutely insane. Now we have the field spell, which is called Therion's Ring, the Colosseum Saucer, which is a very strange name. Excuse me. And all 3 effects, I believe, are once per turn. When this card resolves, you can add 1 Therion's monster from your deck to your hand. It's a Rhoda. It's a Rhoda. I don't even have to say anything else about it, except the fact that it's a Rhoda, which is pretty cool. Once per turn, if a monster or monsters you control would be destroyed by battle, you can send 1 Therion's card or a perpetual engine Arguro system from your deck to the grave instead. So it's basically a kind of like a much more revamped version of Return of the Dragon Lords, where you can just with Dragon Lords you can banish that card from your grave. Your dragons can't be targeted, which is pretty cool. This is basically the same thing, which is pretty cool. Which is actually kind of a cool effect. Once per turn, when a monster or monster is destroyed by battle and sent to the grave, you can target 1 Therion's monster in your grave, add it to your hand. So it's basically Rhoda, Dragon Lords, Reincarnation, which is kind of a cool effect. Next up, obviously, we have the Perpetual Engine Aguro system, which is a normal spell, and both of its effects are a hard once per turn. First effect reads: send 1 Therion's card from your deck to the grave. If this card is in your grave, you can target 1 Therion's card in your grave, add this card or that card to your hand, and if you do, place the other on the bottom of the deck. So it's basically Foolish Burial, and you can recycle this card back into your deck, which is actually kind of a pretty nutty effect. It's a pretty nutty effect, if I say so myself. Next up, we have Therion's Charge, which is a normal spell. And basically, it's a pot of greed. It's basically a pot of greed. Send 1 Therion's card or 1 Perpetual Engine Aguro system from your hand or face up, spell traps them to the grave, draw 2 cards. Yeah, basically, it's their pot of greed. It's their pot of greed, which is pretty nutty. I don't even have to say anything else. Literally, these cards are pretty much self-explanatory. I think this archetype might be the new meta. But it depends on what other support we'll get for these cards in the future. Next up, we have Therion's Cross, which is a normal trap, and it says that it's a once per turn. When your opponent activates a monster effect while you control a Therion's monster, activate one of these effects. Or if you have Perpetual Engine Aguro system in your grave, you can activate both in sequence. Negate that effect, banish that monster. Basically, you could do both, which is pretty cool. Which is pretty cool. So that's why you want to try and maximize. So with this, you want to try and maximize using Aguro system, and send another copy to your graveyard. That way, when you do activate Therion's Cross, you can activate both effects in the same turn, in the same sequence. So, for example, it could potentially be a counter trap depending on the board state. So if your opponent were to activate a card like, say, I'll say Crystal Wing. Let's say Crystal Wing Synchro, for example. You activate this as Chain Link 3 because obviously you were the one that triggered a monster effect. That would be Chain Link 1. Crystal Wing would be Chain Link 2. This would be Chain Link 3. You would basically get to not only negate the effect of Crystal Wing, but banish it as well. So it's kind of like it's basically call by, but with it's basically call by, but in the form of a trap, which is pretty cool. So it's as if you have, so it would be as if you would have 4 call by the graves with the addition of Cross Exclusion, which was the first card that I talked about in the video. That's what, 3, 6, 7 call bys. That's insane. That's pretty insane. Pretty insane, people. Pretty insane. And then the last one up, we have Therion's Stand Up, which is a normal trap. And both of its effects are a hard once per turn. First effect reads, target 1 Therion monster in your grave, special summon it, then you can equip 1 Therion's monster from your hand or grave to it. During the main phase, you can banish the card from your grave, target 1 Therion's monster you control, and 1 in your grave, equip the target to the grave, equip the target in the grave to the target you control. So, basically, basically it's like a monster reborn for the deck, which is actually kind of a cool one, which is pretty cool. Next up, we actually have some new Ancient Warrior support. Ancient Warriors didn't really do a whole lot with the meta. Was in 2020, if I remember correctly. It really didn't do a whole lot, but still can't wait to see what kind of support we get for them in the future. But first up, we have Ancient Warriors Tyrannical Dong Ying. Yeah, that's literally the name. That's the name. I'm not even gonna say it. I'm not gonna say anything. We're all mature here. But it's a 6-star Dark Beast Warrior with 2200 attack and 1800 defense, and the first and third effects are once per turn. First effect reads, if this card is normal or special summon, you can add a level 7 or higher Ancient Warriors monster or 1 Ancient Warriors continuous spell or trap from your deck to your hand. So it's basically a Stratos for the deck, which is pretty cool. While you control a level 7 or higher Ancient Warriors monster, your opponent must pay 400 life points to activate cards or effects. If a monster or monsters is sent to your opponent's grave, you can target 1 card in your opponent's grave, banish it. If you do draw 1 card. So not only is this a Stratos for the deck, but it's basically what's that one? Dark Room of Nightmare, I think it is. I think Dark Room of Nightmare, if I remember. I think so. It's the one where you have to pay life points in order to play anything, basically. So, yeah, basically it's basically that, but on steroids. And then of course too, it's its own Call by the Grave +1, meaning you're banishing cards that your opponent has in their grave, and you're drawing a card. You're basically getting card advantage off of this one card alone, which is absolutely insane. Next up, and then next up we have Ancient Warrior Saga, Deception and Betrayal, which is a continuous spell, obviously, and both of its effects are once per turn. During your main phase, you can spell summon 1 Ancient Warriors monster from your hand, and if you do, you take damage equal to its level times 100. You can send this face-up card from your spell trap zone to the grave, then target an Ancient Warriors monster on the field. Change its attribute. Then, if you activate this effect by targeting a monster your opponent controls, you can take control of it. Yeah, it's basically Snatch Steal, which is kind of a cool one. It's kind of a cool one, but you're being dealt damage, so all I've got to say is that it's pretty hard. The only thing that I'd say is if you're gonna be running that card, you're pretty hardcore. I have to admit, you are 100% hardcore just by doing that. That is just absolutely insane. Next up, we have a brand new Sylvan card. I never thought Sylvans would ever get new support after all these years. We have Pion the Sylvan Dancer. I believe that is how it's pronounced. I believe so, yeah. It's a wind plant. It's a link to Wind Plant Link. I don't know why I said link twice in that sentence. With 1200 attack, and its arrows are bottom left, bottom right, and requires 2 plant monsters. You can only use. So the second effect, so both of its effects are once per turn. If this card is link summoned, you can excavate up to 3 cards from the top of your deck. You can still summon up to 2 excavated plant monsters, but they cannot be used as link material. Also send the rest to the grave. So it's basically Pot of Duality, but on steroids, which is absolutely insane. You can target one plant monster in your grave that has a level. The levels of all face-up monsters the card points to becomes that monster's level until the end of the turn. Basically, it allows you to go into your Xyz plays a lot quicker, which is pretty cool. There's a note here that says note the Buto in the name is a word for dance, but also sounds similar to Budo, which means grapes. As for why it looks like a geisha, a Maiko is a geisha apprentice, and it's written as dance kid. This card's name is similarly written as dance girl, which is pretty cool. That's pretty cool little history lesson, so to speak. Yeah, I mean the card seems cool, but I'm not so sure how meta defining it would be. I know that maybe Black Rose might be able to run it, but who knows. Next up, we have Light Law Medium, and as a note here is that this is a card from Duel Monsters 4, for the Game Boy that was never localized, as well as Dark Duel Stories, which was Duel Monsters 3 in Japan. So we never got to see this card ever, and it finally came out. It's finally been released. It is called Light Law Medium, which is a 2-star light fairy with 400 attack and 300 defense, and it actually has 2 effects. Excuse me. Both are once per turn. Once per turn, at the start of your opponent's battle phase, you can target any number of attack position monsters. Your opponent controls. During this turn, while this card is in your monster zone, those monsters must attack this card if able. Second effect reads, once per turn, when an attack is declared in a battle between this card and an attack position monster your opponent controls, you can negate the attack, and if you do, inflict damage to your opponent equal to half that monster's original attack. Basically, it's basically Magic Cylinder on steroids, which is absolutely hilarious. That is actually hilarious. I don't even know how to describe it. It was just too funny. But still, it's a pretty cool effect, I must admit. But next and then last up, we actually have some new cards, which I'm gonna be perfectly honest. It kind of looks like something out of Power Rangers Dino Thunder, especially with the trap card. It looks like something out of Power Rangers Dino Thunder, which is just absolutely insane. So it's actually I guess a new archetype called Dinorphia. They're called Dinorphia, which is kind of a cool name. The monster, which is a fusion, it's called Dinorphia Rexstrum. I believe that's how it's pronounced. I probably butchered that, but it's an 8-star Dark Dino fusion with 3,000 attack and 0 defense, and requires a Dinorphia fusion monster and a Dinorphia monster. I believe we'll be getting some more Dinorphias in this set in the next couple of weeks, so I will be talking about those, if any at all. The second and third effects are once per turn. First effect reads, monsters your opponent controls with an attack equal or higher than your life points cannot activate their effect. So it's basically effect negation on board, which is just hilarious. Hello, higher than attack higher or equal to your own life points. That's funny. I'm just being real. That's just too funny. But still, it does lock your opponent out of triggering effects, which is pretty good to say the very least. Second effect, as a quick effect, you can pay half your life points until the end of this turn. The attack of all monsters your opponent controls becomes equal to your life points. So it basically just ensures that your opponent can't play any Yu-Gi-Oh at all, which is insane. If this third effect reads, if this card is destroyed by battle or is destroyed in battle or by a card effect, you can special summon a level 6 or lower Dinorphia monster from your grave. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. As a note, there's a note here that YG organization wrote. Big shout outs to them. No copyrights, of course. It says, we think its name comes from Rex and Strum, which is storm, which is basically storm in German. That's pretty cool. I have to admit, that's actually pretty cool. And then next up, we have Dinorphia Forense, which is a normal trap. And it says that it's a once per turn. Both of its effects are I believe, should be once per turn. First effect reads, during your opponent's main phase, pay half your life points, fusion summon a Dinorphia fusion monster from your extra deck, using monsters from your deck, and a monster from your extra deck. So it's basically polymerization, which is pretty cool. When your opponent, second effect reads, when your opponent activates a card or effect while your life points are 2,000 or less, you can banish the card from your grave. You take no damage from your opponent's card effects this turn. So not only is this a polymerization, but it's also a it's also a way to basically not be dealt damage at all. So it's basically it's kind of like what's that one? It's kind of like ring of defense, basically, which is pretty cool. I have to admit, that's actually pretty cool. I don't even have to say anything else about it, but that brings me to the question of the day. What are your guys' thoughts on Dimension 4 so far, and what deck are you guys going to be playing once this set comes out? Let me know in the comments below, and that is going to do it for this video. Hopefully you guys enjoy. If you did, make sure you guys smash that thumbs up button. If you guys are new to the channel, you guys want more Yu-Gi-Oh! News videos, which get posted every Tuesday, make sure you guys subscribe to the channel and hit that notification bell so you guys don't miss out on any new content that comes your way. And be sure to follow me on Twitter and follow me on Instagram. All my links will be in the description below. And if you guys have any fan mail that you want to send me and want me to open up on the channel, my address will also be in the description as well. And on that, this is your boy Nash, signing out.